We are live in Sin City. Roar Nation is going to take this thing nationwide, but I'm pumped about this show today. I'm here first time meeting Brad Lee.
What's happening?
What's happening, buddy?
I'm going to share this shit real quick.
That's it, man. Do your thing. Do your thing. We also have some things in common when I learned about your background. So I was left back in the second grade, diagnosed with ADD, said I had a learning disorder, never graduated high school, and at 19 I'm sitting in a jail cell looking at 8 to 10 if things don't go my way. So when you shared your background a little bit, I said, man, we have even more in common than we realized, because I wake up every day and I say the same thing. Thank God the start isn't as important as the finish.
Yeah.
Because I'd be in major trouble.
Yeah.
I'd be in major trouble. But yeah, so I think you're going to be able to relate to this, that they just misdiagnosed me in school. I just had an entrepreneurial DNA. That's all it was. So I was bored out of my mind. But
it's funny that you say that, because I mean, I was kind of diagnosed with, well, I don't know about diagnosed because I'm like almost 72, but I was talking to my mom the other day and she did claim that I was diagnosed. They want to put me on some Ritalin. I'm thinking, wasn't that in the last like 10, 15 years? But to me, ADD is a scam. If you can't keep a kid interested, it's because maybe you're not interesting.
100%. We couldn't agree more. And understand that there's a reason why they're not interested, right?
And they're kids.
Right.
Like, everything's new. Like, they're checking shit out. Well, we can't keep their attention. Well, you're not interesting to them. I think schools have it wrong altogether. What schools do is they send your kid to school, the teacher teaches, and then they send you home with the homework. And your parents forgot shit, right? So now you're home with the questions. Parents aren't teachers. Then they send you back to school for the lecture. If they would reverse that, let you listen to the teacher at home and then go to school for the questions, I think people would learn a lot faster. I think they got it reversed. And they also aren't, catering to the kids. If schools were business, the kid is the customer. But they don't operate that way. Usually the school boards are the customer or the teachers are the customer, when in actuality, the kid should be the customer. Why are there uncomfortable desks? Why do they start so damn early? Why are you not allowed to chew gum in class? Sometimes chewing gum will soothe your nerves or keep you occupied. You can learn better, focus more. Why can't you eat in class? Because they're not catering to you. Otherwise, they'd make it nice and comfortable. And who starts school so damn early?
Right.
Like, what for? It's their rules, and they're catering to themselves, and they get an ineffective result.
And they're afraid to change what they consider the norm or what they think is success. In reality, it's really not success. So I agree with you 100%.
Well, look at the schools. They're not getting much success, most of them. And I feel bad for teachers because they're underpaid. I mean, teachers got to put up with a lot of crap too, a lot of bureaucracy. Yeah, but hey, I'm thankful they exist. I'll tell you that.
I wouldn't want it. Yeah, absolutely.
Better than nothing.
And look at all the colleges that are failing, right? The people that are, how many, I don't know the stats, but I can guarantee they're high, people that go through college and leave with their degree or don't leave with a degree, and they have nothing to do with what they didn't even know what they were even there for. They just thought that that's what they're supposed to do. Yeah. So I think that's interesting. But hearing your background a little bit, we definitely have even more in common than I thought.
Well, we have even more in common than you think.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows everything about me.
There you go. All right. There you go. Yeah. There you go. Well, we're gonna peel back those those onions. Yeah. So let's go back a little bit, man. Where were you born and raised?
Cottage Grove, Oregon.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Small town south of Eugene.
Typical childhood, tough, rough, easy?
No, depends on when and how. Like when I was about 3 years old, my mom and dad got a divorce. Apparently, my dad split. My mom took 5 of us, 4 of us. There was 5 to get all together. One just got born. Took 4 of us, shipped us off to an orphanage, foster home. Said I can only handle 1. My grandmother told my dad, you better go over there and get your damn kids. My dad obviously listened to my grandmother. So 4 of us went to live with my dad, 1 lived with my mom. And about that time, I don't really remember, so doesn't bother me at all.
Me neither. I was an orphan from birth to 18 months. I was adopted.
Yeah.
Right? So
we don't remember. From as long as I remember, my dad got remarried fairly quickly. Maybe at the same. I mean, maybe that's why they got divorced, for all I know. But my stepmom is really who raised me since I was about 3, and she was a school teacher, and then quit doing that when 4 kids came home. So life was pretty good with them. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money back in those early years, but we were, not hungry. We got Christmas presents.
Yep.
I was kind of the spoiled one because I was the youngest, but I remember Christmas presents. I remember, a roof over my head. I remember plenty of food. I don't
Not going without.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, we were fine, but we weren't rich by any stretch of the imagination.
Yes.
My dad was a mill worker, and they were kind of children should be seen and not heard, so not real involved parents. Matter of fact, when I grew up, got a little older, I started getting into sports on my own. Everything I tried, I excelled at, but I also didn't have any guidance. So like when I was in junior high, I ran a 4.40. Wow. I mean, that's like fast, even when you're an adult. One day the coach was flipping me shit for something, which again, if I could go back, I was probably being a punk.
Right, you did. Right, deserved it.
Yeah, so
right.
he said something, and I was a wise ass, so I said something wise ass, and he told me to run 50 laps around the field, and I said no. He said, then get off the team. I said, screw the team, and walked off. Right. Had no idea there was a future in sports. Right. Started a swim meet. The first swim meet I ever entered, I was disqualified because my time was too fast. Now, when I start telling people shit, you know what they say? Come on, man. Come on.
Stop it, right?
Dude, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Right. This was when I'm young.
Right.
The division was called Guppies. It was the beginner swim team.
Yeah.
We went to our first meet. That's the first and only event my dad ever went to. Dove in the pool. Went down and won. The whole place is freaking clapping and cheering, and I'm all proud, and I pop out of the pool, and the ref comes over and disqualifies me. And everybody's like, why is he disqualified? And it's because I swam too fast. Like I beat the other kids so handily,
right?
I love that word, that they disqualified me. And so my dad basically went over there and said, you guys are a bunch of dumbasses. He left. He never came to another sporting event, but I stayed on the swim team, state champion swimmer, ahead of my time. So
did you hate school? Did you like school?
I like school. I made the mistake as a kid of being full of shit. Like I used to lie a lot. I used to tell my friends in the neighborhood that like my dad owned Disneyland.
Right.
And I used to.
So you weren't even playing. Like when you lied, you lied.
If you're going to do it, do it. I used to bring out the Monopoly cards and the deeds and say, my dad owns these properties. And I think what it was is I was ashamed because we lived on a hill in a little green house, maybe 1,000 square feet on a hill, but all the houses around us were big, nice ass houses. Yeah. Like the next door neighbors were the McKays. They owned a chain of grocery stores. The guy across the street was Dr. Cates. The guy down here, Mr. Richards. They all had kids my age. Yeah. But they were all well-to-do.
Different level.
And for some reason, there was one shithole house right in the middle of these nice houses. I think I was ashamed that, we were poor and everybody else was rich. So I wanted to lie to fit in.
Yeah, you wanted, that was your defense, right? That was your...
Well, I did it well.
And you had the Monopoly
deeds. Listen, they wanted proof. I went and got Monopoly cards. Read that, bitches.
How many of them bought it?
Yeah, none of them. And that was the problem. But I was a little bit of a runt, very skinny, and a reputation of lying. So I wasn't real popular. Remember we used to write letters that would say, will you go with me, yes or no? I asked this girl I forget what grade it was, but I asked this girl, will you go with me, yes or no? And she checked yes, but don't tell anybody. So I'm like, okay, and then that only lasted about a week. That's back when you held hands during recess. Right. That was it. My dad, he was kind of entrepreneurial. He worked at a mill, and then he started his own business and went into business with my uncle. And then they bought a tavern, and then a pizza parlor, and then started a newspaper. Yeah. Well, he was getting there. Yeah. And then somebody came into one of our bars, or our bar Darby's Tavern, and got drunk and went out and killed himself on a motorcycle. You shouldn't have served him so much. So my dad gets sued, And my uncle, to save money, had canceled the insurance.
Oh, no.
Like not even 2 weeks prior. I mean, there's a whole lapse of time I just passed. So that little greenhouse became a nice house. My dad and his friend Ernie built a house where the house we used to live in became the sunken living room in the new house.
Wow.
So literally, they didn't take it down. They just took off the roof and took down the walls. And literally, what the whole entire house was ended up a sunken living room in our new house. And we built a house.
Expanded from there.
Yeah, and you know, when I was a kid, it was a big, beautiful house. We all got our own rooms. So we were starting to get that, you know, success, I guess, and then got sued, basically lost everything. We moved to Eugene, Oregon at that point. So just when I was getting ready to go to the high school, we moved and we went to Eugene. And then up in Eugene, I had realized that lying is not a good thing. And if any of you guys are watching this and you guys are kind of bullshit artists, nothing will last if you're full of shit. Nothing will last if you base everything on lies. So I learned that early, thankfully. You know, I tried lying, thinking everyone was going to like me and accept me. And
this business model didn't work.
It didn't work, man. Nobody liked me. Plus, I was a runt. You know, I tell you right now, growing up to junior high, I was not Mr. Cool by any stretch of the imagination. I was literally the opposite. People didn't like me at all. So I learned real quick, lying is not a good thing, and it will get you in a jam. Eventually, no matter how long you get away with a lie, eventually it's going to come back to
bite you. Yeah.
So when I moved, I said, I'm not lying anymore. Somehow, over one summer, I grew, like, a lot. And ironically, just for the record, I don't know if there's any kids watching, but drink your milk. Because I'll tell you, I used to hate milk growing up. I wouldn't touch milk till the age of about 14, 15. And then one day I took a drink of milk and it was cold and it was good. And then I used to take milk out of the fridge and chug it. And that was the summer I went, boom. And I grew. Lived there till, 16, 17, got kicked out of the house, moved around. I mean, dude, there's a whole life here. I'm 72 years old.
Look at that, man.
70.
He's had a good paper round. Look how good he looks at 70 something. When did you start to know that you had that entrepreneurial DNA?
Looking back, since I was about 6.
Really?
I was in first grade. They used to sell these candy bars. You'd go sell a couple and, give back the ones you didn't sell and the money and whatever. So I got a box of candy bars and I went out and I sold the box of candy bars. The next day they said, well, where's your leftovers? And I said, well, I don't have any leftovers. So they said, well, shit, take another box. And so that basically led to where I sold more candy bars than any other kid. All the other candy bars the other kids couldn't sell, they gave to me to go sell. And all I did is I went to doors and I knocked on the door. And when people would open the door, I'd say, do you have the phone number to a good roof repairman? And they'd say, no, why? Or, they'd respond as like, surprise. Yeah. And I'd pull out a candy bar and I'd say, because when you taste one of those, you're going to go through the roof. And literally.
And that was it.
That was it. Literally, they'd take the whole box. Almost every time they'd take the whole box I had. They were laughing. They're like, oh, my God, what a cute little kid. And so I think that's when I would have realized I had an entrepreneurial knack, but I didn't recognize it then.
Sure.
Or when I went to the bottom of my hill, there was a guy that lived at the bottom of my hill, and his yard was always filled with weeds. And so my dad really never gave me allowance or cash or anything. I mean, again, I don't want to sound like I didn't get anything. I got toys and I got food. Sure. And I got clothes. Every school year we went and got school clothes. I mean, by no stretch was I poor Brad with nothing, but I didn't get any money. He taught me how to be a survivor. So I went down to that guy at the bottom of the hill and asked if I could pull weeds. He said, sure, kid, 25 cents a weed. So I took a bucket and proceeded to go out to his yard and came back about 2 hours later with like 850 weeds. And the guy literally shit his pants. Like he didn't know what to do. So he's like, holy mackerel. And, he's counting out these weeds. I got a bucket jam-packed full of weeds. And my grandfather, he was a logger too, but man, we always had to do stuff around his yard, and he'd teach you a little finger trick where you
just to pull.
Yeah, where you just go like this and pop, and you get the root and everything. So I was like, pop, pop. And so this guy owed me $300-400 or something. He was like, he had no idea.
Did he step up?
Yeah, he had to step up. My dad was also known not to mess with, so like, right. He knew who my dad was.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna pay the kid. But he fired me right on the spot. And the lesson I learned there?
What was that?
always make it win-win, because if it's not win-win, it ain't going to last.
It's not long term.
It's not going to last. So he fired me, paid me, and fired me. But I was entrepreneurial then. I'm, mowing lawns, had a paper route. I went out and hustled all different kinds of ways. And then when I moved to Eugene, I found a new hustle. Just wasn't so
It's legit.
legal.
Can you share?
Nobody wants to know.
Sure. Yeah. Now
I don't know. Are you reading any comments? Eddie, read some comments. If somebody wants to know, I guess I'll tell them. But man, this might be misused. You can still do it now, man. But I made some damn good money as a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid running around.
Break it down, man. Break it down.
I don't know, man.
Give us the juice.
Are these the comments right here?
Yeah.
Are they in real time?
See? Yeah.
Has anyone shared this out? Yeah. You guys got to share this out if you want me to tell you what the deal was.
Love it. So now you leave high school, you walk out.
No.
Or you got kicked out.
No, I dropped out of high school when I was 16 because my dad kicked me out because I didn't mow the lawn.
Oh, so you had to leave your house. You had to leave the high school.
I didn't have to leave high school.
You just rolled?
Well, I went to L.A. to be a movie star.
Is that what you did? Yeah? At 16?
16 and a half, 17.
How'd that go for you? How was that?
Well, have you seen all my movies?
All right, let me ask you this. What was your takeaway, man? When you went to L.A., that window of time.
Well, what happened in L.A. is I went down there and I successfully got a starring role in a movie. And then 3 days before production, the guy, the producer's son got out of a drug rehab, so they gave him my part.
Okay.
And I was like a little bit devastated, and I'm thinking, what the hell? And so someone explained nepotism. The guy's paying for the movie. He gets to decide who plays what. I mean, we're sorry, but that's how it is. And I said, all right, so basically I need to be a millionaire so I can come back and make a movie and decide who's in it. And they're basically like, yeah, I mean, if it's your money, you call the shot. So I said, I'll be back. And I left to go be a millionaire. I just didn't realize it would take 20 years. and I'm not done with that journey.
Sure.
I'm going to make a movie. I figure it's going to be a hell of a souvenir to show my grandkids, or it's going to come out and everyone's going to say, man, this guy's awesome, and they're going to start sending me scripts. Either way, I don't care.
Either way, you win, right?
Either way, I win.
You grab that.
But that story's not over.
What did you start to do towards being a millionaire?
I was about 30 when I really woke up, selling cars, and I was selling furniture, and I sold all kinds of shit, but I was not headed to be a millionaire. I used that as a justification to quit taking the pain of being a broke, struggling actor.
Gotcha.
If I would have stayed in L.A. and had the mindset I have today, you'd already know who I was. I'd already be a movie star. But because I had the talent and, opportunity. One time I was doing a show called Knox Landing, and Alec Baldwin was on the show. They were filming in Salishan, Oregon, and they had a little break. And so me and Alec walked down to this little restaurant to have lunch, and I asked him, what could you tell me? And he said, it's like buying milk. At the grocery store, you get in this line's moving quicker, you jump over here, and then this line starts moving quicker. He said, that's kind of like Hollywood. He said, if you want a gallon of milk and you get in line and you just wait and you don't get out of line, eventually you'll get up to the cashier and have the opportunity to buy your milk. Alec Baldwin, tweet him out.
Yeah, that's great value, man, for overall life, right?
He was basically saying, don't give up.
Yeah, be patient, but keep moving forward, right? And for whatever reason, I would say that you didn't keep pursuing the acting just because at that time in your life the why wasn't big enough. Yeah,
I didn't want it more than I wanted to stop being broke. And not only that, I thought back those days that I was going to be a millionaire. I just had no plan. I didn't realize I was not going to be one. My mind then was, I'm going to, and I'm going to start by getting a job, and I'm going to start by saving my money, and I'm going to start here. I just didn't realize I was meandering.
When you look back, now that you're starting 30, 35 years old, right? You're starting to create an actual plan.
30
years old. What was your first step? Was it a sales job?
Quit my job. I was running a car dealership.
Okay.
And I quit it to start this place.
You just decided one day?
No, I told them I got to quit, and they got all pissed and offered me more and wanted me to send me to some school and told me I'm not going to make it and I'm stupid and I've got the whole world by the balls. And I said, this will always be here. I can always come back and do this. That's why when they say burn your boats, I don't say burn your boats. I think by burning your boats, I mean, it works if you have to do that, but when you burn your boats, sometimes it puts too much pressure on you to make a move. So when people tell you to burn your boats, they're saying that have no other choice and you're bound to succeed. Well, that's one way, but it's not the only way.
No.
My recommendation would be do not burn your boats. I knew that I had a boat. I knew that I had a job and it will always be there. So that gave me the comfort to quit my job and go out and build this company.
And again, like we talked about too, it changed that perception, right, of
you just
that
think
fear,
different. Yep.
right? And you created that became your propeller versus your anchor,
Yep.
because you had that to go back on. But here's the other thing, is the times we live in right now with the internet, if you really truly want to make a change, this is your excuse crusher. Because as you know, you hear Gary Vee say all the time, I can't agree with him more. Then that means it's 7 o'clock at night after you kiss your dog till 2 o'clock in the morning, right? What is it that you want and how bad do you want it, and tie that why into it? You can figure out what you want to do, who you want to get in contact with, what relationship you want to build. It's at your fingertips.
Well, it's true. I mean, there's people with no arms and no legs achieving unbelievable stuff. So, I mean, if everybody threw their problems in the middle of the room with everybody else's problems, and you got to see what everybody else has to deal with, a lot of times you'll be fighting to get your problems back. And
just did a video on that. I'm at the bank, standing in line, and I hear a voice right behind me. He says, "Hey, do those tattoos hurt?" I look, turn around, short little elderly man. I said, he says, "Yeah, those tattoos hurt when you get them." I said, "No, I guess, I said it's not pleasant, but it's more mind over matter." He goes, "Oh, they give you anything to numb it?" I said, No, nothing to numb it." He says, "Oh, yeah, because they didn't give me anything to numb." He says, "I was in a concentration camp in World War II, and they took off 4 of my toes." Now, he's got slippers on, closed slippers, right? And I look down, and you can see a half a foot. And he's looking at my tattoos like, that's impressive, right? And I look at him, and I said, "World War II?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "How long were you in the concentration camps?" He says that we were there for 4 months, and then we got, they got us out. And he said, and ready? We had a conversation for about 45 seconds, and twice in that 45 seconds, he stopped and froze up because he was in so much pain. I don't know what else they did because we were in line at the bank, so it was very quick, but perception, right? When he says to me, "Wow," he says, "So that must have really hurt." I said, "Well, it's nothing compared to what you went through." Okay, so let me back up and circle this all around. People always want to know, and you hear this all the time in the position you're in, how do I get out of my funk? How do I get out of my funk? I'm in this funk.
Yeah.
It's simple, right? Get out of your bubble. Look around, because like you just said, there's people that are praying for your problems, for your situation.
Absolutely.
Get out of your funk. And I always say, if you're not sure where to go to the children's hospital. You know that 12-year-old little girl that's just going through chemo for the second time, and she's the concrete of her
and 9
family.
times out of 10, happier than hell.
She's the and her
she's
parents
still alive.
And her parents are ready to crumble.
She's
right?
got the right perspective.
Go talk to her and tell her that you're pissed because you're waiting in line at the bank. Yeah. Right? No, but
that's like the old saying. I was pissed. I had no shoes until I met a man with no feet.
So when we started Monster Motivator TV last year, March 2016, we did 106 episodes from March to December.
Share this out, folks. Let's make sure it's the top-rated TV episode of all time. So one of my most powerful shows was in Vegas. A good friend of mine, Amy Kardashian, not Kardashian. She always says that. Long story short, born in the Middle East, in war, families getting bombed, the whole bit. Damn.
She's at 12 years old. Her house gets bombed. Family gets separated. Her and her 4-year-old brother are living in a cave, and the government's bringing bread and water every once in a while. And when they were real lucky, they get soup. Growing up, she comes here at 18, 19 years old, right? Lived that whole life. It's just wild what she went through. She said she's standing in line at the grocery store, and she's looking around, and it's a long line, and there's people with baskets with food, the grocery store, and they're pissed. And she's 18-year-old girl going, "Oh my God, Like they're angry that they got to wait in line.
They're angry.
Isn't that interesting? Like, yeah. So my point with the video yesterday was, I'm actually embarrassed after speaking to him what I was complaining about last week. I always, if you want to get out of your funk, get outside your bubble, you know?
Or look at your choices that you're making.
Oh, 100. So Lightspeed.
Lightspeed.
How'd you get here, man?
On accident, really. I mean, I wish I could say, boy, it was this magnificent plan, but it wasn't. I started a training company.
Okay.
And I got paid money to go in and train people how to sell, how to close, how to, get conversion. Not a lot of people don't know me for training. They know me for the platform, but, my training was unbelievable. Still is. If I were to release it, I might be persuaded to release it, but not enough people ask for it. So I would teach people how to become, deadly salespeople, like very successful in closing techniques, all of that. So they were paying me $5,000 or $10,000 a day, depending on what I could negotiate, and I'd go in there for a day and do my training and leave. Well, I found that it wasn't very effective because after 2 weeks, people couldn't do what I taught them to do. And I'm thinking, well, what's the problem here? Boiled down to, they weren't getting enough repetition. They weren't getting enough practice. They weren't getting held accountable. Nobody was holding them accountable because I was there for a day and gone. Mm-hmm. So I thought, there's got to be a better way to train people because this isn't working very well. So long story short, I gave money back guarantee for my training. And for one reason or another, someone wanted their money back, and I had to travel to California to kind of test them to see if they knew my training, because that was part of your money back guarantee. If they didn't know it, or if they didn't take the training, they wouldn't get their money back. So I had to go basically confront someone wanting their money back. I proved that they weren't trained and they didn't take training. And it cost me a lot of money to get there that I really didn't have. And I thought, man, there's got to be a better way to do that too. So I kind of invented another way to train, and I built it for myself, and it worked so well that I started to show other people training. Companies started saying, we love the platform. And once I had a bunch of people on the platform training, I didn't want to compete with my customers. So I wasn't going to sell my training anymore because now I'd be competing with these guys. And so I stopped training and just focused on the platform. And, fortunately, it's the baddest training system on the planet. And I show people how to monetize content, and I show people how to, make improvements leveraging the technology, lower their liabilities, make 5 times more money, find new revenue streams altogether. And ultimately, it grew. Just like a car that, when the gas pedal sticks, what do? You don't jump out.
Figure it out.
You freaking steer that bitch and you hold on. And that's what I've been doing. So I wish I could say, actually the polyunsaturated hydrocarbons that flow to the medulla oblongata increase the blood flow to my erector pili. No.
With my monopoly deed.
Yeah, basically I took action. I wasn't afraid to make a move. I wasn't afraid to make an adjustment. I didn't take no for an answer, and I just kept going, even though everyone said it wouldn't work. And I should have stopped a million times looking back. I mean, I went on 8 years before it was really starting to catch. 17 years later, and it's on fire.
That's a great lesson, right? And again, it goes back to that third step we talked about, massive effective action becomes magical if you're willing to do it.
Yeah, well, you have to learn how to sell no matter what you're doing. Learn how to sell. If you don't know how to sell, man, you better hire somebody that does, because you're not going anywhere without sales.
100%. 100%. And then,
like, you got a fire restoration business?
Yeah.
If I shut this down right now and you hired me for sales, I'll make your business bigger. Why? Sales. I don't need to know everything you know. I just need sales.
Bring it in.
So if you're out there, man, and you're thinking, what can I do, man? Do sales. Greg Walker?
Yeah.
Go look at his problems. Shit. Yeah. I'll take my problems all damn day long. I'll take all 3 of our problems.
Yeah, he has a house full of...
Yeah, so people always be like, oh, I seen you on the show. You're playing all humble. And, no, it's not me playing humble. I'm far from humble. At the end of the day, I haven't had any problems. Someone said the other day, what'd you do when you get knocked down? And I'm like, I haven't been knocked down. I've never been knocked down my whole life. I mean, like, dude, I've always had food. I've always been in control. I'm not, like, I haven't been knocked down. Everyone's like, well, what do you mean? I thought you said you slept on the beach. I did, but that's because I didn't want to go to my dad's house.
Right.
That's because I didn't want to call my brother for help. It's not because I had nowhere to go other than the beach. I made a choice to sleep on the beach. I was too proud. But that's not getting knocked down, being broke. Being broke isn't being knocked down. Do you think?
No, and
losing everything. I lost everything. That's not being knocked down. That's starting over.
It goes back to perception.
It's all perception. My perception's the opposite of most people's.
And it has to be. You wouldn't be where you are.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be here if it wasn't. It's that little girl that went through her second chemo smiling, right? Because she gets a new teddy bear and her mom and dad are ready to crumble. Everyone's perception in that room is completely different.
It's like there's 2 rooms, right? There's 2 rooms. Both rooms are filled with shit. You put a rich kid in one room and a poor kid in the other room. They came back 6 hours later and the rich kid was crying and madder than hell. And when you're like, what's the problem? Well, the problem is you put me in a room full of crap. Then you walked in and the poor kid was playing, he's running around, he's flipping it around, and they're like, what are you so happy for? And the kid said, well, with all this shit, there must be a pony in here somewhere.
Right.
Perception. Both same circumstances, happy, unhappy. Why? Perception. Now again,
100%.
Now if I wanted to twist that, I could understand why the kid was pissed, because guess what? There wasn't no damn pony in the room. It was filled with shit. Don't fool me. But at the end of the day, you see what you want to see, and you believe what you believe, and no one can change it but you.
That's 100%. Life is perception. When you can wrap your brain around that, you're going to start to win.
Yep.
For me personally, the last 6 months, my dad passed away in November. My mom passed away in February. I was given some of the most amazing gifts towards the end because I decided to say, what is this really all about? And somebody that I look back and say, there's kids to this day that didn't get that chance, right? To sit in the room when we're ready to take him out for hospice. And I said to him, he's a World War II vet, right? When I was adopted as an infant, they were in their 40s. He's sitting and it's just me and him. He's got everything, he's got about 2 weeks to go. And we're getting ready to take him to his place, and we're getting hospice and everything. We're in the room, just me and him. And I said, I got a question for you. He says, what? I said, you're 92 years old. I said, you're a month away from 92. I said, you've lived life pretty much on your terms. I said, do you have any major regrets? And he looked at me, looked down, he goes, no, not really. I go, you won. He goes, what? I go, you won this thing called life. I said, you made it to your 92. You have no major regrets. And he looked at me, he just smiled, and he goes, I guess I did. And again, that's a gift now that every kid gets an opportunity for that. Life gave me an unbelievable gift that nobody can take away, and I can take with me till I'm dust, till I'm gone. And that was just one of many in the last 6 months with them. And for me, ultimately, life is perception, and how do you decide to look at it is going to be your results. It's going to be your reality. And you had the choice. You could have looked at it completely different.
Sure.
You could have looked at it as you're the victim, or you're going to look at it as, no, this is my reality. Love that, man.
Well, again, I didn't do it on purpose. I think I just did it. Whatever happened as a kid, or whatever, I learned along the way. Apparently, I just think that way. Like, again, I didn't get any sage advice to do it. I just did it.
You just did it, right?
It's just naturally occurring.
Right. And you didn't care about seeing that whole staircase. You just knew all I need is that next step, right? And I think if anybody's going to get it, if you want to take away from today, I think it's that. That's I would say what my takeaway from you is, you don't have to see that whole staircase. And guess what? When it scares you and excites you at the same time, you're not going to see that whole staircase. It's impossible 17 years ago for you to see every single thing that needed to be done to get to where you are.
Yeah, well, I probably wouldn't have.
You would have turned around.
Yeah.
You would have been selling cars.
Yeah, I would have did something else.
you would have been selling cars. But that's the point. That's why you're the Rocky story.
Hey, how you doing? Adrian. And I don't think I'm there yet. Like, in other words, if I'm a Rocky story, right now, I'm jogging around the tracks, running up the stairs.
But
like, I haven't knocked anybody out yet.
No.
I haven't done anything compared
But-
to what's about to happen.
but-
So if I'm a Rocky story, I'm just at the beginning.
But you're a Rocky story for other people. You're a Rocky story for that little kid or that guy that's going, how do I get out of this job? How do I leave this job? How do I get out of this relationship? Because you just shared with them how you did it. It doesn't mean they're going to do it exactly like you, but that is the Rocky
Yeah,
story.
just like in Rocky, you got to catch the chicken, Rock.
Cut me, Mick.
Yeah.
Cut me. How many,
gotta catch the
how many
chicken.
times were you in the corner and you said, you got to cut me, man. I can't see, but I know I got to move forward.
You know, like these right here, breast strips. I had a buddy of mine that knew Sylvester Stallone. We almost had Sylvester Stallone on a VT system. So he says, I know Sylvester. I'm like, yeah, right. He goes, dude, I'll take you right to his house. I'm like, dude, if you can take me to his house, I'll close him. And I almost did. Matter of fact, I did, but because of a middleman, it went to shit. Greed, it went to shit. And it might not have worked out that big anyway, but I was at Sly's house, and people do call him Sly.
Yeah.
I was at his house, met his wife, gorgeous house, by the way. It's like an Italian villa. Anyway, so I'm walking in, and he comes in. Well, actually, we waited for a while because he wasn't there, but when he finally got there, he walked in, he was cool. Hey, how you doing? And I'm like, great. I'm showing him Lightspeed, and he says, okay, show me. So he's sitting here looking at a computer, and I'm sitting right here over his shoulder talking to him. And he didn't say anything, but I could frickin' smell my own breath. For some reason, that day, I don't know if I was drinking the night before, I could smell my own breath where I was talking, trying to breathe in and talk at the same time. It's difficult, and all I could think about is, man, this dude's probably dying on my breath. Had no mints, had no gum, no choice but to keep going. So I kept going. Fortunately, closed the deal, and it went sideways, but otherwise. But see, you always learn from your mistakes. You always want to be prepared. Since that day, and I don't know if to this day, he could smell my breath or not, but in my mind, I could taste it. It was so bad.
And it's not going to happen again.
It's not going to happen again. So now it's like, dude, I don't give a shit when, who, what. Stinky breath.
There's your takeaway.
Listen, stinky breath, folks, you don't want it, because the quickest way to turn someone off is walk up and say hello, and all of a sudden their breath just melts your face off.
All of a sudden you lost an ear.
Or you just don't want to talk to them anymore. You're like trying to get away quick, and guess what? You got to talk and communicate to make deals.
But
Anyway, Sylvester Stallone, I was at his house. He's actually a pretty cool dude. He's an artist. Most people don't know that.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he's got this badass Rocky picture of a silhouette of Rocky that's made from the scripts of the actual movie, the scripts that they made the movie with. And I'm like, wow, that is incredible. Who made that? And he said, I did. He's an artist.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah. That is the ultimate. That is the ultimate Rocky story when you know his story. But
How long is this show? Because I went in the Marines. We haven't talked about that.
that's how we wrap this up. Is there anything I didn't talk about or mention that you want to share?
Oh, 2 months.
So how long were you in the Marine Corps?
10 weeks.
Yeah.
So I go into the Marine Corps thinking I'm smart. They had me tested. I scored very high on the ASVAB. The whole time I told my grandpa, I'm going to graduate in my dress blue. Getting in the Marines, I realized it was called Honor Guide or Platoon Guide, but I didn't realize. I thought everybody got to dress like the commercials with the cool uniform. And I was deciding over the Navy and the Marines because I thought it was cool. And it basically boiled down to the uniforms. A Navy uniform, you look kind of goofy. You had the Gilligan hat, the big bell bottoms. And then the Marines were all badass with that jacket and the striped pants. I'm thinking, all right, and also Marines, first in, last out. My girlfriend at the time, her dad was wealthy, and he didn't like me at all anyway. When I said I'm going to go to the Marines, he really liked that. Yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, that's my way in this deal. So I figured, okay, I'll go in the Marines, and I always wanted to be a police officer. A cop, that's a badass job. Get a gun, get a badge, go do good, help people. I'm not talking about, some of the cops that are out there, but, what a cop's supposed to be. Because there are some bad ones, but I think most of them are good.
Yeah.
But the job itself, good or bad, is awesome. So I wanted to be a cop, and I knew that, at least in our town, if you were a Marine, you're automatically accepted to the police academy. Got honor guide, put up with all kinds of shit like you wouldn't believe, because normally that position gets lost several times throughout the basic training. I got a little cut on my leg in rifle field training when I was going under some barbed wire. I cut my leg, and they sent me to the sick bay, and they basically held me there for a week so I wouldn't get infected. When I got back, like, my platoon kept going, and so when I got back out, I'm like, what's going on? And they basically said, we're going to send you back to first phase. And I made the mistake of saying, well, you can send me back to first phase as long as I'm honor guide, because I told my grandpa, I'm going to be that guy. As soon as they knew what my why was, they snatched that why. And he said, I'll make damn sure you'll never graduate in that uniform. And, he obviously had the power to do so. And he snatched my why right out of the Marine Corps. And I said, dude, this is messed up. So I went to the commanding officer. I remember sitting across his desk. The guy was cool as a cucumber. Told everybody to leave, and he said, what's the problem? And I looked at him and I said, man, I was immature. I made the wrong decision. I shouldn't be here. I want out. He said, well, you can't get out. I said, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, I closed him, basically. He leaned over the desk and he said, if you tell anyone I told you this, you're going to have a big problem on your hands. I said, sir, yes, sir. He says, if you want out, wake up tomorrow and respectfully refuse to train. And I said, won't I get, in some serious trouble? And he said, no. Because you're not really a Marine. You're not government property until you've graduated and some times went by. So you're not actually a Marine until after graduation. Mm-hmm. But, of course, cadets don't know that. So I followed his advice, and when I did, they sent me over to a thing called Casual Company and let me out with an R3 admin waiver, which is like I wasn't even there. So I didn't get dishonorably discharged.
Wow, you just disappeared.
They just basically acted like I never showed up, and fortunately got out, because if I wouldn't have got out, I might be dead. I might be a cop somewhere. I might be freaking completely different person. If I could go back and try it over, I would have stayed, knowing what I know now. Like, I would have loved to serve. I would have loved to get that experience. So I feel like a punk for quitting. But again, I've learned lessons the hard way. I never should have quit the Marines, but I did. But when I say thankfully, it's because thankfully I have my daughters and I have my kids and I have Lightspeed
Where
and
you're
I have
at
my
right
friends.
now. Yeah,
right. So
right.
Thankfully, because of that, I may not have been here. I may not have known the people I know. My kids may not be my kids. I mean, when you make a shift like that, a major shift, your whole world can change. So any military service personnel out there, remember, I appreciate your support, but that, there's some circumstances where sometimes, you quit. Doesn't make it right, though. I wish I could go back and fix it. If nothing else changed, if I could still be here.
Right. If you could still have everything
I was doing badass, man. They had top secret military clearance going for me. My MOS was going to be 26. My MOS was 2631, which is basically, intelligence, counterintelligence. I probably would have had an excellent military career. I was almost picked out of a few of us to go, CIA. I might be CIA. I might be a 007 by now.
See that?
That's right. But I pussed out. I was a puss.
You just weren't supposed to go down that road. That's it.
Which also goes to show you, man. Listen, anyone, you deserve second chances. There's a lot of people out there that they're not motivated to do anything because internally they feel bad. Forgive yourself, bro. It ain't that big a damn deal.
Well, let me go here. Right. It also depends on your definition of what you consider pussing out. I would consider pussing out when you left that office and he told you to respectfully not train. See, I think it's a courageous thing that you did what you did, because not every kid would have done that.
Well, you could look at it that
way.
No,
but again,
go ask a Marine and they'll call me a puss for quitting.
But that's all right. But again, that doesn't matter. It's what your perception is, right?
Well, my perception was I was a puss for quitting.
See,
I'd change it. I'd go back and not quit.
There you go.
But I see the viewpoint that I could take. And not only that, I didn't bring up the fact that when I was in the Marines, I got letters and I started to realize I'm going to be government property, because I left out the point that really kind of was a catalyst in the whole thing too. I finally get a big stack of letters, which they weren't giving me my letters. I go open my letters, and my girlfriend, who, by the way, was probably one of the prettiest girls ever on the planet. Found out that I was, I made out with this chick right before I left, which, again, bad choice. It's all about choices. Anyway, she found out, and she basically said, you know, we're done.
Yeah, you're done, yeah.
And I'm going to cheat on you with your friend. And that wasn't a good freaking feeling. And I'm stuck at boot camp. So what I did is I asked for permission to go use the phone, which was right out my barracks, right down, like not even from here to my studio way, there was a payphone. And, you know, we could use it as long as we wanted, as long as you had permission. So I asked permission. I got to use the phone. I got to close her. I got to stop her. And he basically said no and was a dick, because that's what they're trained to be, is dicks there. So I went and used the phone anyway, and they were going to charge me with being AWOL. And I'm like, what are you talking about, AWOL? That's absent without leave. I was right there. You knew where I was. You didn't have permission. That's AWOL. And I thought, damn, dude, I'm going to be a piece of property, no longer a human being, and they will be able to do anything they want to do to you. There's no more rights for you in the military, I thought, and I was all scared and shit. And so that also was a catalyst. So I just decided, you know, I better quit. But shouldn't have been, you know, I shouldn't have made out with that girl. I shouldn't have did what I did. If I could go back, I would have been a faithful individual, never lied to anybody. I would have been like, I would do everything a lot different. And I might end up right now working over at Smith's stocking the frickin' Cocoa Pebbles too. So who knows? That's why I don't regret anything, because I'm happy now. Here I am, and maybe, just maybe, if I didn't make all those mistakes and learn the hard way, I wouldn't be here. So I don't regret it, but I regret it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but there's no question about it that you wouldn't be here without that part of the journey. I'm a big believer, struggling with strength. I want to thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy.
Sure.
You got a lot going on, because your story is the majority, not the minority, for a lot of people. They just don't realize it, right? They just don't see it, and they don't think that they can.
Well, they can. Anyone can. Everything you need is inside you. And you know, that sounds cliche, but it's totally true. You know, the other day I asked somebody, do you think you need a mentor? Do you think people need mentors?
I think it depends on the situation.
What I asked the person was, do you think you need a mentor? And their answer was yes. And I said, that's bullshit. They're like, what do you mean? And they were a mentor, by the way. And I said, dude, you don't need a mentor. You don't need a mentor. Should you have one? Absolutely, if you're lucky enough to get one and find one. Should you hire a coach? Absolutely, if you're lucky enough to afford one. But do you need one? No, you don't need anything. You don't need shit. You need action. You need a heart. You need a little bit of common sense. You need to keep your mouth shut and your feet moving and go to work. That's what you need. You need some confidence. You need some self-respect, but you don't need a mentor. If nobody ever told you anything, you could still make it without any mentors whatsoever. Hear what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't get a mentor. I would recommend a mentor. I would recommend a coach. I would recommend hiring people. I would recommend investing in education and lessons. But do you need? No, you don't need dick. You need to get off your ass and make a move. You need to keep going, even if you get beat up 1,000 times. And one day you're gonna stop getting beat up. It's like the kid, you know, that he's afraid, he's a puss, and you know he ends up being the badass. Why? Because he got his ass kicked 700 times, but the 701st. He started kicking that ass. And guess what? If he'd have stopped at 695, he'd be known forever as a pussy who used to get his ass kicked all the time.
And you know who's fighting this weekend?
Damn, that sounded good. I need this clip.
Do you know who that was you just described?
Who?
John Jones.
John Jones is a badass.
He got his ass kicked by his older brothers his whole life. They told him, you're too skinny. He was 6'4", 170 pounds. He said, don't even think about the football team. You're too skinny. He got into wrestling, and now look at he's the baddest man on the planet, pound for pound, no question about it.
I thought that was Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, man. Yeah, right. Well, as Connor says, if you're talking about a half a fight. Yeah. Connor.
I got $100 on Conor McGregor to knock out Floyd at 15-1 odds. I might even up it to 1,000. So, however, here's why. Yeah. Because if Conor wins, it will be by knockout. There's the only way he can win.
First 4 rounds
is a knockout.
Right.
Because he ain't going to win on points and he ain't going to win on skills. So Floyd will outbox his ass and outpoint his ass 1,000,000 to 1. But Connor can knock him out, and I think Connor might knock him out.
That would be.
And at 15-1 odds, why not throw $100 bill?
That would be epic. We talked about.
Frank Estrada says, "Real Bradley, Ron, real." Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
I just saw my name. Have you read A Man Thinketh? Yes, I have. My thoughts on it? Again, I mean, it's been a while, but basically I agree. Like, what you think is pretty much what you are and what you do and how you act and how you respond and how you operate. And, as a man thinketh, he goes.
I was told years ago that if he said, Bob Proctor told me this.
Bob Proctor.
Yeah, he told me, he said, son, if you read this book the rest of your life, you'll always grow.
You know what Bob Proctor's #1 book is?
What?
Science of Getting Rich.
Oh, his book, yeah.
No, not his book.
No, you're right. That's
He'll charge you money to coach you, and really what he's doing, whether he
rereading.
tells people or not. Sorry, Bob. He's reading out of The Science of Getting Rich. He basically reads you a chapter a week and charges you a bunch of money to read you the book. But he'll break it down and give you some, mentoring.
Right.
Along the way.
And
or you could save $10,000 and read the book yourself. It's called Science of Getting
or
Rich.
even get the audio.
It's also public domain. So is Think and Grow Rich, by the way.
Now, we were talking about the self-image. We got to go there, man. We talked about Conor McGregor. That's it. He's living proof.
Well, I mean,
that your self-image dictates your results.
Yeah. I mean,
it is.
It's just
the truth.
Yeah.
'Cause
read that sign. What's that say?
Ambition means you want it. Passion means you'll get it. Live with passion, and you can do anything.
Yeah, like ambition. People have ambition. Ambition ain't going to get you shit. You got to be passionate, which is your why. I mean, there's just so many things that are the same repackaged.
It's no question, because one of my taglines is leadership through motivation, inspiration, and perspiration. Right? It's exactly what this is saying.
I've got some original quotes. One, you can't get rich making poor choices.
100%.
Now, see, here's another one that people don't know that I made. This is my freaking quote. People never believe it because they've read it before. I don't give a shit where you read it before. I said it first. I got a bunch of them, by the way. If you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. Now, I've heard that. Yeah, you heard it because of me. Another one that I'm quite fond of is listen with your eyes and you'll hear all you need to know. Which is basically actions speak louder than words. So it's always repackaged.
Right, but
I mean, nobody made up anything, really, did we?
No. And that's what, remember, I was saying that if anybody in the personal development world tells you they invented something new, run.
Well, I invented that. However, it came from shit I've learned. And I didn't invent the
But it's
world,
your
so
flavor.
you learned it somehow.
Right, it's your flavor.
Yeah.
Right? This is like,
You
one
put
of
your
my
spin
quotes
on it.
is that darkness is only temporary as long as you keep moving forward. The only time it becomes permanent is when you go back into safety.
I made up 10 out of 7 people don't understand fractions.
Man, how about that? There you go.
72% of statistics are made up on the spot. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. 31% of the time, people believe that. Any questions? I can read it. The count's dropping.
They didn't have the
Worn
stamina.
out, man.
No stamina?
You guys got to stick with the program, man. You can't give up so easy.
You gotta have stamina, man. You got. If you don't have stamina,
Dude, if I didn't have stamina, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
and that is the truth. We joked, but that is the truth.
It's the damn truth.
That's the
Dude, for
ultimate
8
truth.
years, I didn't make shit. There was times I had to park my car at someone else's house in case they were coming to mine to look for it and put it on the hook. I literally parked down the block to walk home because the repo man was looking for my car, and I knew they weren't going to be looking at a dude's house down the road. They'd be looking at my house, though, because they were out for it. I was like, at one point, 6 months behind on my car payment. But I ain't giving it to them. They're going to have to find it.
They're gonna have to work.
I needed that damn thing. I needed it big time.
Yeah.
So, like, I'd just hide it, so they'd be circling my neighborhood. Where's that damn car? They'd never find it. And by the time they found it, I got money and I went and paid it and got it caught up. And I'd get 3 months behind again. I mean, dude, listen, you can't give up anything that you believe in, but you can make adjustments, man. Don't get so stuck on one tunnel vision thing that you crash.
Here we go. How do you discipline yourself?
I don't really call it discipline. You know, it's like when you get up in the morning and you're heading to the bathroom. I mean, why don't you just stop in the kitchen and take a shit? Well, because you got somewhere to go, man. You're heading to the toilet. I haven't got where I'm going, so I'm just continuing to go. Most people don't realize that they don't really need discipline to win if they want to win, right? The question is, how do I win? Well, fortunately, I'm winning, and I'm just going to continue to win and adjust, and that's how I got here in the first place. So I didn't need discipline. Like, how do I discipline myself? I don't discipline myself. Do you?
Only thing I talk about is non-negotiables. What are your non-negotiables?
But I know, but discipline to me means, how do you discipline yourself? Meaning, like, you know, I don't really want to come to work, but I do, and here's how I do it. Or how do I discipline myself? Like, you know, bad Brad. I don't discipline myself. I reward myself. I use the reward system. And by the way, life disciplines me enough. I don't need to do it myself.
But that's a great point.
Yeah.
You look at it in, again, perspective, right? You look at it at, I'm looking for the reward, not the discipline. So now it changes your outlook and it changes your day. Brad and Dave, how do you guys handle rejection?
I don't acknowledge it, Frank. I don't acknowledge rejection. Do you?
I want to know what's your definition, right? That's
well, yeah.
Meaning,
I mean,
Brad,
if I want to go deep on it,
Frank,
but I don't really acknowledge rejection. Do you?
No.
Yeah, like
No.
if I say, "Hey, do you want to do this?" and you say no, I think you're lost. Like, in other words, I don't know. I'd have to go deeper and figure out what's your definition. But the general cliche guru answer is, you know, you just keep going and you just
Or what's the other one that we all heard? I can't even say what a straight face. It's just a yes in disguise or something.
Yeah, but the truth is, Frank, is listen, you know you're going to get no's. You better get conditioned to it. You better be open to it, and you have to understand that you're going to get no's. Just like, you know, you have to understand that you're going to get, you know, your heart broken. You're going to get, you know, rejection. The question is how do you react to it? So when you say, how do we handle it? I handle it well because I just don't acknowledge it. I won't give it the power. And by the way, there's 7 billion people on this earth, and there's probably 100 billion opportunities. And just because one doesn't work out, or it's a rejection, there's so many more, man. I just look at the opposite.
You just move on.
Yeah, you just move on. I don't even acknowledge it. Like, I don't go home and be like, yeah, honey, we lost the deal. Damn, that would have made my day. I don't do that. I go home and talk about what's about to happen, and I don't even acknowledge the people that didn't say yes or didn't sign the deal, or I almost got them.
And here's why. Because the truth is, it didn't make or break your day.
Yeah.
And see, when you live in that world, you become bulletproof, right? Yeah. And that's conditioning of being a successful entrepreneur.
You're right.
How many things happen in your day that if they happened to somebody else that wasn't conditioned, they'd melt.
Yeah.
They'd crumble, right? It's that conditioning that, and I personally think when you're an entrepreneur for long enough, you have such an advantage over the masses because we are firemen, man. You're putting out fires throughout your day.
I can read a contract way better today than I could 17 years ago.
You talked about seeing through your eyes, right? To me, it's about when you can learn how to read people. You can learn how to read people much quicker when you are in the game longer.
Sure.
Right? When you, 17 years ago, what you could read then to what you could read now, instantly, it's night and day, right?
It's almost like now I got X-ray vision.
What was that quote?
Listen with your eyes and you'll hear all you need to see.
That's a badass quote, man.
It's right over there on a big board like that.
Is it really? Yeah. That's a badass quote. When people break that down and you get behind that, that's the real.
Did you drive up here?
Yeah.
I'll let you pack it with you.
That's the real.
I got a big illuminated claw coming over there. I was going to move it anyway.
Yeah.
And plus I can get another one made, so I can either ship you one or I'll give it to you.
Look at that.
Put it
man.
up somewhere.
Look at that, man. Look at him. I'm feeling alone.
They said, what's the definition of legacy? To me, the definition of legacy is how will you be remembered?
I got
Bottom line. And or how much cash did you leave behind? But I think that's irrelevant based on how you were remembered.
I believe so.
But you know, I think legacy is how you will be remembered.
What's your definition of success?
To be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want, for as long as you want.
Oh, man, what's your definition of happiness?
Definition of happiness? When you want for nothing else.
Beautiful. So we are in alignment. My definition of success is doing what you, living life on your terms, right? Whatever that means for you.
Yep.
For me, happiness is just feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
When you
When you want nothing more.
right, when you feel fulfilled, whatever that is.
Yeah, but I can be, there's levels of happiness. But when
Yes.
someone says, what's your definition of happiness? That would, to me, be the biggest degree of happiness. Fulfillment's a great way of saying it. Mine would be, you know, like I could come up with the cliche, like, you know, world peace and no more hunger. Right. But quite frankly, I can be happy knowing there's hungry people in the world. I'm not going to lie and say I can't. If I saw the hungry people, I wouldn't be happy until they were fed. But if I didn't know it, because, I mean, there's so much shit going on in this world we have no clue about, I could be completely happy and not even know shit's going on. So if it's in my circle or in my vision, I wouldn't be happy knowing there was somebody hungry or something going wrong. But to me, happiness is I want for nothing more. And that may be world peace. But as long as I want for nothing more, you're completely happy, and then everything else is a level. Like right now, I don't really need anything. I don't really, you know, I want some more things.
Sure.
I want to reach higher levels. So right now I could say I'm not happy, but shit, I'm as happy as a sumbitch. Because like I said, I already know I'm a way better off than a lot of people. Did you see that girl today on Dr. Phil? The girl that was stuck in the closet, her parents brought her out every so often to beat her up and basically have sex with her.
And then throw her back in the closet.
And then bring over strange men to have sex with her.
Right.
A little girl, like 4 years old, in the closet. They got life in prison. I would have shot them right in the head from day one.
Oh, it's just, there's no...
Like, they don't even deserve to live. Those are just bad people. But anyway, like, dude, until, like, can you believe that? Like, my problems ain't shit. So I'm happy, but I haven't reached happiness. Happiness is, to me, defined as you want no more.
You're fulfilled.
Fulfilled,
right?
satisfied,
It's
100%.
like Nick. I always jack up his last name, Sabicek, or no arms, no legs, and he does keynotes all over. Actually, I'm good friends with his cousin and all this. Anyway, long story short, I love this guy. Right? No arms, no legs. That's how he was born. Married, has kids. At the end of his keynotes, people always come up and they want to talk to him, and he says it's inevitable. Somewhere in that line, someone says, "How can you be so happy?" You know what he says?
I have a torso.
No. He goes, "How can you be so unhappy?" Oh, it's the ultimate check. You know, he says inside he's just like, man, like the ultimate check. You're walking up to this man asking him how he could be so happy, and he's turning around on you and saying, "How can you be so unhappy?" That's my question to you. I love that, man.
Good perspective.
Isn't that? That's badass. Here's the other thing real quick. If you ever want a real perspective, go on our website, Danny Bedford. I got his YouTube video on our homepage. My man is the ultimate excuse crusher. When he was born, his dad could hold him in the palm of his hand. He wasn't supposed to live. Cerebral palsy. He can't use his lower torso. He's 20 years old right now on his third book, right? I have his YouTube video. He made his high school swim team. Can't use his lower extremities. On my website, his YouTube channel, he's going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And the crowd is going absolutely wild. It looks like he's going to drown. His dad told me 3 different times, he goes, I just wanted to jump in and save him. You want to talk about like a game, a life checker? That's it, man. Check out that video. Danny Bedford.
Danny Bedford.
Awesome kid. I've had him on my show a few times. He's the ultimate excuse crusher. Love it. Love this Rocky story, big man. And we take the show out the same way, every time. It's called the Monster Motivator Roar. And I know you're familiar.
You got to do that, though.
Well, we got to do it together, man. We're going to show you, man.
This shit.
But there's a backstory,
See, listen,
as you know.
Yeah, but like Tony Robbins always tries to get me to hug and massage dudes next to me, and I got to tell him
Yeah, but
no
this
too.
is a different story, though. This is.
I saw it though. I know.
I know.
What it is.
You're gonna
It's
love it,
basically
man.
going
Yeah, he did it. As long as we got to do
We
it.
got to do it together.
Okay, ready? On 3.
Yeah, go ahead.
But let's give them the backstory real quick.
What is
You
it?
can only be in one state of mind at a time. So if you're in that victim state, you agree there's no room for anything
No
else
room.
at that moment, right?
Exactly.
So if we could be in that unstoppable state, why not? Right?
Why not? Let's
why
roll.
not? Let's do it. We're gonna do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Ah!
Dave Daley,
Oh man.
Monster TV.
Awesome
Come
job.
on, man. Share this shit out.